vi jobbar för Studin och väldigt kortfattat så är vår uppgift helt enkelt att hjälpa svenska studenter som är till studieplatser utomlands. Och idag ska vi ha lite fokus på fristående kurser och framförallt på att läsa 1 eller 2 terminer i Asien. Eller hur Lolo?
Exakt. Vi ska gå igenom lite vad ni har för alternativ. Det finns ju väldigt många olika destinationer som Asia Exchange jobbar med. Och lite exakt hur länge man kan vara borta och vad det finns för typ av kurser och sånt som man kan läsa.
Men jag tänker att vi gör så att vi lämnar över till vår kollega Michelle på Asia Exchange som är vår närmsta partner när det gäller den här typen av utbildningar. Så får hon gå igenom lite grann hur det funkar, vad det finns för destinationer. Och sen efteråt så kommer Lolo och jag tillbaka och kan berätta lite mer om hur man går tillväga för att komma igång och vad vi kan hjälpa er med.
Exakt. Så att vi börjar med Michelle så ser vi om några fler kommer in här inom några minuter. Awesome, Michelle. Are you ready?
Yes, sure.
Oh, and
I didn't understand anything, but
sorry about that.
No worries.
And I also want to let you guys know that if you have any questions during the webinar, you can ask us in the chat conversation here as well, and we will answer to them as soon as we can. Awesome.
Yes, perfect. Okay, let's see if I can share my screen.
Oh.
You guys can see it. Let's see. Yes, right?
There we go.
Okay, well, first of all, hi also from my side. I'm Michelle, I'm from Asia Exchange, and I only speak English and, well, a couple of other languages, but no Swedish, unfortunately. So I hope that works for you guys as well. But since you're all probably interested also in studying abroad, I think English is anyways very important. So now it's a good time to learn a little bit. So maybe quickly a few words about us. So we collaborate with Student together, and I just wanted to introduce a little bit of our destinations that Student offers to you guys. And well, you will probably see there's a lot of destinations you might already know or are interested in or might even have applied to. So also, if you have any questions about them, you can just ask them later in the chat or like in between, whatever works for you. So quickly about the programs that we offer. So there's, of course, the semester abroad program. So 1 to 2 semesters in a destination. And then on the other side, there's the gap year, which is pretty much the same. It's also 1 to 2 semesters in a destination abroad. The difference for gap year is you probably know that you don't have to be enrolled. So for example, if you come from a high school, a gap year program is a pretty nice tool for you before like starting university, for example. And then we also have a few full degree programs like a bachelor's specifically that you can also study abroad. I also wanted to mention like a few benefits, like in general, of course, like what studying abroad like helps you to, for example, like getting intercultural competences or interpersonal skills. But then also what specifically is like a benefit for you to go study abroad with Student and Asia Exchange together. So for example, there is no limited study placements, meaning there is like all kinds of opportunities for you, like a lot of different programs and courses, and everything is taught in English. So it helps you, of course, also to very much on your English skills. Then especially in the entire Asian destinations, there are different colleagues of mine, like at the universities or in the specific countries. So whenever there's something, like coming in between, there's always somebody who can help out immediately. Then also applying through us, through Student and Asia Exchange is super easy. It works very fast, everything online. So yeah, so you pretty much have the confirmation to study abroad within a couple days. And then also it's very affordable. And also for you, if you, for example, have very spontaneous plans, there's usually always still an option for you to go study abroad. I actually just wanted to, or mainly wanted to introduce also some of the destinations. So first of all, our Asian destinations, and I listed them here a little bit. So of course we have Bali in Indonesia, we have Thailand, we have South Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam. And I listed on the right side a little bit that where our gap year destinations are and our full degrees, and I will come back to that in a second. And the rest is then for semester abroad programs. And then the beyond abroad destinations, meaning all non-Asian destinations, which we have in Costa Rica, in Mexico, and in Italy. And here, for example, a gap year is in Italy and Costa Rica possible. Full degree, unfortunately, in none of them, so that only in our Asian destinations. But then, for example, also Mexico offers like a normal study abroad semester. All right, and I would say we dive a little bit into the universities, and I will start with our Balinese universities because we actually have 3 different universities, and they don't like differ that much from one another, but they do differ a little bit in the study fields, also the semester dates, and of course, some of them might be a public university, some a private. For example, Udayana is a public university in Bali, and you can see on the left side on the bottom here that at Udayana University, you can study, for example, for a semester abroad. So for a semester or 2 semesters, or then also a gap year. Then we have Undiknas University, which is also in Bali. And that is on the other side, a private university where you can study a full degree and a gap year program. And also we have different study fields, but you can also check out all the study fields, like if you have like a really specific study field you're interested in, then we can also have a look into those. And then same also with the semester dates, they always get updated. So these are usually more or less the correct dates, but they might of course always change a bit, like here a day or there. And then as the 3rd university in Bali, we have Wamadewa University, and that's actually also a private university. And at Wamadewa, you can study only a gap year. And then also we have here the different study fields that you can study. And in general, like I said, it's like a little bit like depending on, usually students decide, for example, about the location or about, okay, do they rather want to study at a private university or public university? Because there's, of course, also a little bit differences in each country. So it's like actually really up to you what you're like more into, and for example, what study fields you're more into. But why, like in general, study in Bali? I guess I don't have to like tell you too much. You probably already know about the unique and rich culture, as well as the affordable living costs. So whereas all, I would say, European countries are rather on the high end, Bali is still quite affordable, not only living costs, but also, for example, well, kind of like food-related costs and yeah. Then also a lot of free times activities, like, for example, if you're into surfing or you would love to try surfing, or then also yoga, then Bali is definitely a really cool destination for you. Then it's also one of the fastest growing startup hubs in Southeast Asia, which is, yeah, I think also a cool fact and like good to know, especially if you're planning on going to university or also really much into, you know, for example, startups or, you know, innovations and so on. So that's a pretty cool fact about Bali as well. And then, of course, like I already mentioned, we have in different Asian countries teams on site, especially also in Indonesia, so in Bali specifically. So our team also organizes a lot of activities in place at the different universities or at other, like, for example, like, you know, they organize sometimes parties or all kinds of local activities, charity events, and so on. Yeah, and then in general, a little bit about life in Bali. So of course, the universities, they have different, like on campus, for example, sport facilities. And they also, all the 3 universities that I just showed to you, they all have on-campus sports facilities. They all have different student clubs, as well as health centers on campus. Then the classes typically in Bali, they're only run for 3 days a week. And then usually on day 4, they have excursions and workshops, for example. And like I mentioned about free time also, you can, visit the temples, try local international food. Then for all the surfers or yoga interested people out there, perfect destination to visit. And of course, you can explore the beaches, go snorkeling, watch the sunset, drive around with the scooter and so on. And then a lot of our students, they either, sorry, they either stay for example, in a guest house or in a villa. And then, we usually we always do connect students prior their semester abroad with other fellow students, so they can also, find other friends or students to like live together with. So they are usually never alone. Like there's always somebody who's also, looking for a place to stay, and then you can just like team up and find, for example, a villa, which is like super affordable in Bali together. All right, and the last slide about Bali is still, I want to show you a little bit of the map still, a bit about the areas. So for example, we have Ubud for yoga, so which is, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but it's here. Then we have Jimbaran, which is a quiet local feeling, which is in the south. And there's also Udayana University down here, whereas Wamadewa, for example, is in this area in Denpasar. Yeah, and then we have Canggu, which is here on the west side, which is a very hip area, also very busy area. And then we have Nusa Penida and Nusa Lembongan for diving and snorkeling, which is here on the eastern side. Yeah, so like I mentioned, it's really up to you, like what you're a little bit like looking for and so on. And then maybe depending on this, and of course the courses at the universities, and yeah, if it's private, public, how many credits you need and so on, for you to decide at the end. All right, and then I would move on from Bali. And of course, if you have any questions about Bali specifically, you can also write them in the chat and we can try to answer them later on. I would now move on to Thailand, specifically, I think I brought Bangkok. We have 2 universities there. So first of all, we have Kasetsart University, which is the 3rd best public university in Thailand. And you can study here, especially a semester abroad. And Kasetsart University is a really big university. It's right in the city of Bangkok, and they offer super many different study fields. So there's pretty much anything for everybody, or like for anyone to study there. Yeah, and then here a little bit also about some facts. They also have a lot of like on-campus facilities. You can do a lot of different things in Bangkok, not only try, of course, the super delicious Thai food, but also do a lot of free time activities. The university also has a buddy program, which I think is pretty cool. So it's like an opportunity to also, to connect also with other fellow students. And yeah, I think that's pretty much about Kasetsart. We then, on the other side, have a second university in Bangkok, and that's for those interested in a full degree, especially in a bachelor's full degree. That's Yam University. That also belongs to the top 10 of Thai universities. And yeah, that's really for those like doing a full degree, because they offer a great one, especially in international business. And then on the other side, they also have a master's full degree. So they do offer both, but of course the duration is a little bit different, whereas the full degree is, of course, in as a bachelor is much longer than a master's degree. Yeah, and like I also mentioned before already, the times, they might vary a little bit, but just for you to get an idea about it. Yeah, and then a little bit also about Siam and numbers. You can see here it's also like quite old university already, has like a lot of international students. And it's actually a private university, whereas the previous one was a public university. So like I said, there's like a mixture out of both universities. But like depending on like, no matter if like private or public, they all like offer usually really great like campus lives. So for example, also STEM University, they have different clubs like sports clubs, arts clubs, different sports center. They also have, of course, like a library and so on, cafeterias, everything you pretty much need on a campus. All right. Now moving on to the third university in Thailand, but this one is in Phuket, and this one is especially for those interested in gap years also. So yeah, Prince of Songkhla University is specifically also for business as well as tourism. So that's always what I'm trying to highlight here. So those interested in those study fields, I think they will definitely be happy with Phuket. And what I personally like about Phuket a little bit more is that it's not as busy as Bangkok, and it's more, you know, of a tropical vibe, of a beachy lifestyle. So in that sense, of course, it also like up to your preferences that do you want to, you know, stay in a really big capital city, or do you want, you know, a bit more local and more tropical, beachy, and so on. Yeah, and the university, they have over 33,000 students, so very big university also. It belongs also to the best universities in Thailand, and also just like the other universities, they offer a lot of, yeah, different facilities, sports facilities. You can go, of course, surfing there. You can, you know, try it all. Yeah, all the lovely Thai food. There's always a cooking class that we organize together with the universities where you can learn how to cook some Thai food dishes. And the cool part here is also that there is homestays where you can, so we have usually in the different countries also some providers we work together with to offer student accommodation. And we just give this like to you, don't like, there's no extra charge or anything for this. Of course you need to charge it, like pay the university for a homestay, for example, or like in general for student accommodation, but like from our side there's no fee on top. So, and then here we have specifically those homestays, because yeah, I think it's also pretty cool to have this kind of experience. Especially because the university didn't offer or doesn't offer any on-campus accommodations. Whereas when we move on to South Korea, that's a little bit different. So here we have Hankook University of Foreign Studies, and here to mention is definitely that the university, it is right in Seoul. Like everybody knows, it's a huge city. And here we do offer on-campus accommodations as well, which is, you know, right facilitated by the university. And here in Seoul in South Korea, you can study also a full degree, but of course also a semester abroad, depending on what you're interested in. Hankook is one of the biggest universities in Seoul, so it has very many students, a lot of different study fields, and it also belongs to one of the best universities in South Korea, and it's like right downtown in Seoul. It has 27,000 students, so also a very big university, over 50 departments. So like I mentioned, a lot of different study fields. And then also it has a great campus life. Also again, or once again, different health centers, different student clubs, then of course, cafeterias, libraries, and so on, computer labs even. And like I mentioned, also the different dorms that, for example, when you apply, you can also immediately in your application indicate that you're interested in also a student dorm. And they're really not expensive. I think they're like 200 or 300 euros. I'm not sure in Swedish crowns how much that is, but it's like really affordable as a student, probably even cheaper than rent I would pay here. Yeah. And then moving on to a second city in South Korea. This is for those among you who are not necessarily interested in, like, you know, these like huge capital cities, but more of a mountainy city, I would say. So Busan is on the East Coast, and it's, you know, you can pretty much go by boat to Japan if you're interested in it. It's like right in the mountains. It's a little bit or much smaller than Seoul, but of course, like Busan is still a quite big city also. And here you can also study a semester abroad. And this university is, or like you can study here only or mainly in business fields, just because they don't offer any other study fields in English language. And of course, we want to offer like all kinds of English language taught courses. So yeah, and Donga University has 3 different campuses, over 20,000 students, and also offers a pretty nice campus life, all kinds of facilities, and so on. And of course, it's like I mentioned, close to the or right by the sea, so you also have like a pretty great environment there. All right, and then I would still jump from South Korea to Taiwan, where we have Xixian University. This university offers a semester abroad and a full degree. And here you can study also mainly business courses, but then, for example, those interested in learning, for example, Chinese language, then that's a really great opportunity too. Yeah, and the university, just like the others, they, have all these like on-campus facilities. They have super cool classes, and for example, in Chinese opera, and then also a few other like artsy things, as well as a lot of student clubs. So I think that's especially like cool to once again connect with other fellow students. All right, and then the last university that I have for our Asian destinations is in Vietnam. And here we have Foreign Trade University, which is in the capital, and here you can study a semester abroad, and mainly also in international business, finance, banking, logistics, a few others, but I think those are like the most interesting ones. And then here in Vietnam, so the university, I would say, is rather small compared to the other universities, but it's still a pretty great university right in the capital. And they also do have a lot of different sports clubs. You can do a lot outside the university. They do actually offer a lot for students. And of course, you can also take your different language courses, like I already mentioned. Yeah, and the entire university is also very like international in that sense. So there's a lot of like English speaking students as well. All right, sorry. Okay, then in the next step, I would still show you, I think, 3 different universities from our non-Asian portfolio. So where we have Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is actually one of our, I would say, most famous destinations from our Beyond Abroad catalog, just because it's like a really good university. They've been ranked as the best private university in Costa Rica for, I think, actually 12, in the meantime, already 13 consecutive years. So it's a really good university focused on science and technology. And here you can study semester abroad, but also a gap year program. All kinds of different study fields, of course, in the business and technology field. And at ULAS, like ULAS or in general Costa Rica, super nice country. You're like right in mountains, but also right by the sea. So there's a lot to do, the tropics. So in your free time, you can, travel the country. And there's just so many different like opportunities in Costa Rica, like different things to see and to experience. Like in your free time as well as at the university, of course. The university, they offer also different cultural but also social events. And they also have different student clubs, just like the other universities. They have sports, arts, and cultural student clubs. All right. And then for the next destination in Latin America, we jump now from Costa Rica to Mexico. where you can also study a semester abroad. So they unfortunately don't offer a gap year, but in Mexico you can do a semester abroad for those interested in, for example, the country or the language specifically. You can study at Anahuac Cancun University, which is in Cancun. And here you can also study, I would say, business as well as a lot of like tourism fields. And Mexico, I mean, very beachy destination, of course, right by the sea, super nice, always good weather. Sounds pretty great to me, to be honest. And yeah, there's also really nice campus life over here, different sport facilities. They even have a small grocery shop on campus, as well as a university church, which I think is pretty crazy. But yeah, and then of course also all these like different clubs. Sorry, all these different clubs. You can see it yourself on the screen what they all offer. A lot of sports club, music clubs, and so on. Yeah, and then of course in your free time, if you don't feel like being on the campus, there's here you can see the photo of a pyramid, so you can travel the country, see a lot of the history, and I think that's always a great like opportunity if you study somewhere abroad to take on all the culture and history you can like soak out of it. All right, and then as the last one, we are going to jump to Europe, which I'm going to introduce you. In Italy is Sardinia. Sardinia is a very big island of Italy, if you hopefully know. The university is a very old and prestigious university. It's ranked among the top 5% of the best universities worldwide. And here you can study a semester abroad as well as a gap year, also a gap year program. And mainly, I would say also in like business as well as like cultural studies, languages, communication. There's a few other ones, but I think those are also like the biggest study fields offered in English language. And maybe also to mention here, of course, like for those who say, okay, they might also speak a different language or interested in in the local language to learn. At all our destinations, it's always possible to take language courses or even the courses in the local language if you feel like, okay, for example, you go like you speak Italian and you want to go to Italy, then of course that's also no problem at all. Yeah, and about the university, also offer different sports clubs, language courses, and a lot of like activities for outside the university where you can once again connect with students and just get to know the culture and also the history and the country itself a lot better. And like I mentioned, the university is a very big university, over 29,000 students. That's a lot, and it's a very old and prestigious university, so very it looks like like you're back in history. Like really old and nice university. So that about it. And I didn't want to keep it too long. I just wanted to show you and introduce you to some of the destinations. And now it's also time for you, if you have any questions, of course you can either open your microphone or just write it in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them. And I would just click on and show here. Let's see.
They can.
Does that work?
Yeah. But you can write in the chat and we'll respond.
Okay. Yeah.
And also I have a question for a guy I'm talking to his name is Leo. He's working right now, but I promise to send the recording. And he's interested in the Around the World study program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about that and what kind of courses you can do, since you're kind of dividing your semester into different destinations? So,
Yeah, sure. So the Around the World program it's one semester but divided into half. So you do just the same amount of like, oh, what's happening? Sorry.
You're good.
I might actually have a slide in here. That's why it opened.
Ah, great.
Okay, but maybe I can do the talking first. Okay, so it's a program, one semester divided into half, and you do just the same amount of credits and courses, but like pretty much half at like each university. And I would say it's mainly, oh, here I have it. There we go. Can you see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, here we have it. Okay, so the first half of the semester starts in Bali. So where you're gonna study at Warmadewa University. I think that's on the next slide. Where you can, and here you can see the study fields that you can study at Warmadewa. So Indonesian language and culture, tourism development, international business and marketing, as well as entrepreneurship and business management. So you can choose out of those courses. And you do maximum 12 credits, which is 2 courses, if I remember correctly. So you do them the first half, and then there is, I think, 1 or 2 week break in between for you to come from one destination to the other, just to have some time to travel, settle in a country, and then continue. And this is so like the both university, this entire program is like really tailored together. So it's like, you know, very easygoing and without any like issues in that sense that, you know, you have only like 2 days to travel from one to the other destination. So we try to make sure that it's like feasible for everybody to, you know, to be on time and to be in the country for the next courses. Yeah. And then when you finish the first half in Bali, you're going to study at, which I also introduced in Costa Rica, the Latin American University of Science and Technology. And here you can like choose out of those study fields. Yeah, and we mainly, I would say, have these like bachelor level students doing that. So you actually have a pretty wide variety also of courses to choose from. Yeah.
And that's a good opportunity for people who want to do 2 destinations in 1 semester. That's awesome.
Exactly. That's very much for those, you know, world jetters among you, or however you call it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, for those who are like really, you know, wanting to also maybe delve into 2 different destinations, 2 different countries. And because I mean, Bali and Costa Rica are like somewhat similar, but still very different, right? So in that sense, I think it's a really great opportunity to like experience both within 1 semester and, you know, get all the credits for that, right? All the courses that you need for university.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's the program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think you have a few questions from Christina here as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me open the chat as well.
Yes. Asia Exchange, what specific study does it offer? Are all destinations the same, or can you choose yourself?
Study if there is nothing suitable, there are other alternatives to choose something suitable. There's written on the. Okay, so the destinations, they're of course all different. If I understood the question correct.
Yeah.
And you can choose yourself, of course, where you want to go. So usually how it works is, you know, you check out that kind of like what destination you might be interested in, or then if you have something in mind that you, for example, you want to study something really specific. So it's usually always the easiest to remember that you can study, for example, everything business and economy related at all our partner universities. As well as, I would say, engineering and IT is also pretty easy. And then everything that's like much more specialized, then you would need to have a look into the course lists. And that's why I always wrote down a little bit the study fields, just to show like the most common ones. But then, of course, if you say, okay, you want to study like psychology or like arts or humanities. So something like, that's still doable abroad, but you need to then have a look into the course list together. Just because not every university offers that specific study field in English language. But if you're like, no matter what you're interested in, or if you don't know at all, then usually you can, or I think it's the easiest to just reach out, right, to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
and then just like kind of like either say I already have an idea where to go, or I want to study this and that. What opportunities are there? And then we help you with that. Yeah.
So based on preferred locations and areas of interest, basically, we will try to find good fits for you, and then we can see
exactly
apply for, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're here for as well, to find a good fit for you.
Another question that we do get a lot, that I thought we should mention at least, is it hard to get accepted? Do I need to have very high grades to get accepted to a university?
Yeah.
What level is expected, and what level English is expected from me?
Yeah. So it depends a little bit if you come from a high school or from a university, but usually it's enough if you have some like English knowledge in that sense, or if you have some kind of a certificate to prove. There's no need to do like a really expensive, for example, TOEFL test, but just any kind of certificate, or even from your teacher, some kind of a letter that states that you're, in the position to speak like English on a like B2 level would be pretty good already. And then like requirements, to be honest, we try to keep them very low. So like we don't choose by grades. We only choose by first come, first serve. So of course, the earlier you apply, the more safe it is for you to get a study seat. But there's no like choosing or like based on grades or anything. And you can always read the requirements. Also, I'm not sure if you guys have it on your website too, but we have them listed what's required, but usually like they're quite low in that sense. So.
And we also have a question about accommodation. How does it work with accommodation? Is there campus or a private apartment, or can you live with a host family? And it depends, right?
Yeah, exactly. It depends very much on the destination. So, for example, like I mentioned, in these really big cities like Seoul, for example, we offer student accommodation, which you can always choose, and you can immediately also, when you apply, you can tick in the application form that you're interested in accommodation. So, like in those, I would say, really big cities, we always try to offer something to students. Whereas in these more tropical destinations, like Thailand, Bali, we do offer accommodation in that sense that we tell students that, we send them different, for example, websites or companies we work together with where our previous students have stayed. Just because in Bali, like students, they like to live in villas. They want to, be together with other fellow students or friends and rent something together, because it's just also really affordable and easy to find. But we always help you to finding something. So we have in every country different opportunities in that sense to have a accommodation. Yeah, and of course, if you, for example, prefer also living with a host family, that's actually something we do a lot in Costa Rica. We have a lot of students living in host families together because it's also a thing in the country. So, it also differs very much with the country also, how they usually like doing it. Yeah.
If you're curious as to what life could be like for a student, I suggest having a look at our Instagram account. We're called Studin. And a couple of weeks back, we had one of the students living in Bali doing a takeover. So if you look at highlights, you'll see all her photos. And I remember her showing a couple of different places where she'd stayed. So that's a
exactly.
live option.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that was popular. Yeah, that was great. You guys should have a look for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and then about leisure activities, if they're often during the week, should it cost anything extra? So that also depends again, or once again, because of course there are, for example, activities that are during the week or even outside of class that are, during the week, which you can attend, and they usually don't cost anything. And then, for example, there might be, like in Bali on the weekends, sometimes they organize like, these kind of, how do you call them, pool parties and stuff. Of course, those are privately organized, so you can participate. You don't have to. I mean, they do cost something, but it's student prices. So it depends a little bit on if it's organized by the university, then it's for free. Or, like if you, for example, want to join a club, usually like you don't have to pay for that. But it depends so much on the university. But usually it's super affordable if they charge for it. Yeah. Yeah. And these travel destinations, what kind of university program is it? What is included? Is it only for universities or other kind of schools? Is it for 20 plus age assigned students? Like, what travel destinations? That would be my question back to you. Are you talking about like Bali and Costa Rica as the around the world program, or maybe you could quickly still type that in the chat? In Asia, what kind of use? What is included?
What's included? Do you mean when it comes to the
fees, or?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you're talking about the fees, what's included when you pay the school, or is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess a lot of students ask that always. So, of course, you pay the tuition fee, and tuition is one thing, right? So there is a tuition fee, and that's the only thing that you pay to us. And then, of course, there is still like accommodation, which you would need to pay, but you would need to anyways pay that, like even in Sweden, right? Or then like normal living costs in the country. So that's different from the tuition fee. But the good part about the tuition fee is that if you like apply through us, or if you study through us abroad, you don't pay the normal tuition fees. You get discounted tuition fees. So, and that's usually twice or even 3 times cheaper than if you would, just study by your own, like organized by your own at this university. So I think that's like pretty great. And then of course, like, student accommodation, like I mentioned, is usually super cheap, even much cheaper than, here in Europe. And yeah, the living costs just the same. It's also much cheaper, I would say, especially in Southeast Asia. Yeah, so those are not included in those tuition fees. Is it on
what age? How old are people usually who go?
So from our side, you just need to be 18 plus.
Yeah.
That's the requirement. And then of course, for example, if you come from a high school, you just need, the diploma, for example, from the high school. But that's why we offer these gap year programs, right? This is for, like, for example, high school students, or then also for students that are between a bachelor's and a master's degree that kind of like want to have this gap year in between. But there's like, no other requirement than having the certificates from your school or university, and being over 18.
Yeah. Some people do it straight after high school, and some people do it when they're older during their master.
Some people even do it with 30 or 40.
Right. Never too old to learn.
Yeah.
Right.
I think our oldest student was around 60 something.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, yes, this is university studies. This is not high school studies. So this is just post school. So you need to finish your high school and be ready for university. That is sort of the minimum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions? Because in a second, we're about to talk a little bit in Swedish about how we can help you guys with your application and how we can support you. So if you have any other questions for Michelle before we do that, please let us know in the chat window. And let's see here. Visa questions. That's a good one.
Doesn't much. Yeah. So 60. Yeah, so about the visa, so that's also what we or also you guys do, right? So we help you to find the right visa. And I mean, we're not doing this for the first time. So our coordinators in our Asian countries, they know exactly that what kind of visa you need, how much a visa costs, and then especially how long you can stay in the country. And usually it covers, of course, the entire semester abroad. And then usually because of course a lot of students always ask that, can we stay a little bit longer, or we want to travel a little bit. So that also depends once again on the country, but usually it's possible to kind of still have some days, weeks, or even a little bit longer to stay in the country, or even travel a little bit abroad. Or then also there are usually also opportunities to even extend a visa, but that's also very country specific. And that's something, for example, no matter in what is it Thailand or what destination you're interested in, our coordinator always, we have these webinars kind of, or a how do you call it, like an onboarding, where we will also go through all these visa matters again, and also how to settle in a country, also with accommodation and so on, so you're not left alone. So there's all kinds of support from our side to have the right visa, to find all the information, to get the visa in time. I think that's the most important thing, to just not apply too late for it, because I would say in Asia it might even take up to 2 months to get a visa, whereas in other countries it's pretty much overnight. So that's why I always say that also with the application, don't wait too long, just because you need to have enough time to apply for a visa. So yeah, and then
Emails, a brochure, or something similar. Yes, Christina, we will definitely send you some more information. And Elizabeth and I will talk you through how we can start with that process, basically, and how we can help you.
Sure, exactly. And if you need then any help still from my side, or specifically for a country, then just reach out to me, and I'm happy to provide the information also. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
That's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle, so much for joining this webinar.
Yeah.
And
thanks for the invitation.
Of course.
Yeah, very informative. Thanks a lot.
Very informative and inspiring for sure. I want to go now. So yeah.
All right.
Still have some time to spare. She said 60, right?
Sorry?
You said 60 years old, right? For the older students. So we still have time to spare.
Yeah, you still have time.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Then should I jump out of the call? You can finish the rest in Swedish.
We can do that, and we'll talk to you soon about we'll talk.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Then thank you once again, and have a
nice to Finland. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Okej, då går vi tillbaka till svenska då.
Då ska vi över till svenska igen.
Ja, nu får
ska vi se lite grann, vad kommer du och jag in i bilden här då?
Exakt, varför är vi med? Vad är det vi kan göra? Nu ska vi dela skärmen här i några minuter och då ska vi se vad vi har där.
Förutom att vi uppenbarligen kan prata svenska och kan hantera alla konstiga frågor som ni kan ha på svenska, både nu i chatten, men givetvis också på telefon, e-mail, om man vill komma och hälsa på oss på vårt kontor, om man vill ha online-möte med bara oss för att gå igenom någonting. Sånt gör vi självklart, och vi gör det helt kostnadsfritt, så det kan vara bra att veta innan vi kör igång.
Precis, helt kostnadsfritt. Nej men exakt, så det finns ju mycket stöd man kan få då, återigen kostnadsfritt från vår sida. Dels det med rådgivning, vi var lite inne på det tidigare, det här med vilka ämnesområden intresserar mig och vilka destinationer kan jag tänka mig och var kan jag läsa det här ämnet eller det här. Så att vi kan liksom filtrera bort vissa alternativ och hitta rätt alternativ för dig helt enkelt.
Precis. Och det vi ska säga nu är att nu har vi bara touchat lite grann på just Asien och det var lite grann i Europa. Men vi jobbar ju med massa fler destinationer. Så känner du att det här upplägget verkar ju spännande, men jag har alltid drömt om USA eller Storbritannien eller Tyskland eller Dubai eller vad det nu kan vara. Hojta till så kan vi hjälpa er med det också.
Precis. Vi kommer också se till så att ni har rätt handlingar för att kunna söka. Det brukar inte vara mer än betygen för gymnasiet på engelska och svenska och en bild på ditt pass. Men ibland kan det också vara lite andra detaljer som en emergency contact eller liknande. Så vi kommer ju alltid se till att du har rätt dokument för att kunna lägga en ansökan helt enkelt.
Precis. Och ansökan sen när vi har samlat in alla dokumenten, då kommer vi att skicka in den åt dig. Så vi gör egentligen alltid jobbet åt dig, talar om vad är som behövs och sen skickar vi in den. Och sen ser vi till att man får ett svar. Asian Exchange, som de sa tidigare, är väldigt, väldigt snabba. Det tar sällan mer än ett par dagar innan vi har svar där. Skulle det hända någonting, ja, men då ligger vi på som iglar för att se till att vi faktiskt får det där svaret. Så att man inte bara försvinner i mängden helt enkelt. För vi vill ju också att ni ska bli antagna och komma iväg.
Exakt, så vi har ju bra direktkontakter på Asian Exchange då. Så att vi brukar ändå kunna få svara väldigt fort och sådär. Så att, najmen. Sen är det också det här med CSN.
Ja, vi ska inte gå igenom alla siffrorna med CSN för det blir alldeles för mycket för att orka hänga med i det här. Men det som är bra att veta i väldigt grova drag att när det gäller CSN-studier utomlands, eller när det gäller utlandsstudier så gäller följande för CSN, det var det jag försökte säga. Det finns egentligen 4 olika delar till CSN-lånet. Dels så är det här som heter studiemedel. Och studiemedel är lån och bidrag som man får varje månad att leva på. Och det är egentligen samma sak som man får om man hade pluggat på högskolan här i Sverige. Förutom att lånedelen är lite större utomlands. Så det är helt enkelt pengar som ska räcka till mat, hyra, busskort, kurslitteratur, nöjen, vad det nu kan vara. Sen ovanpå det så kan man få låna pengar till sin flygresa. Ovanpå det kan man låna pengar till försäkring. Jätteviktigt att ni är försäkrade när ni är utomlands. Ja. Och den sista delen är att ni kan få låna pengar till er kursavgift. Och där finns det ett tak. Men de goda nyheterna med alla de skolorna vi har pratat om idag är att det är under taket. Så att alla de skolorna vi har pratat om idag kan man finansiera ekonomiskt helt och hållet med CSN-lån.
Det är riktigt bra priser man betalar så att det är ju inte mycket, det är inte stora lån vi snackar heller utan det blir en väldigt prisvänlig termin man gör i så fall. Eller 2, eller hur länge man vill vara borta.
Och förutom det att se till att ni får underlag så att ni kan söka CSN så kan vi också hjälpa er att gå igenom utbetalningsplanen efteråt för att se till att ni faktiskt har fått allting som ni har rätt till. Om ni vill. Men vi finns där så mycket eller så lite som ni vill helt enkelt på vägen.
Exakt. Så är man intresserad av detta och då vill gå igenom lite hur CSN också funkar, då brukar vi boka ett e-möte på Google Meet som nu. Och då så kommer vi att gå igenom alla siffror med er så att man förstår lite hur CSN är uppdelat och hur det funkar och sådär.
Precis. Och Lolo, då, vad är det mer man ska tänka på? Nu har vi kommit in på skolan, vi har sökt CSN. Vad händer nu?
Nej, men vi hjälper ju även till med att hitta rätt försäkring till exempel. Och det var ju det vi var inne lite på där med CSN. Du kan ju ta CSN-lån för detta. Men vad är det för typ av försäkring jag ska ha? Har ni olika tips och sådär? Ja, det har vi. Så att vi hjälper dig gärna med försäkring också. Sen är det också det här att det blir ett visst nätverk kring det hela. Vi kan bjuda in er till Facebookgrupper och få er i kontakt med andra som ska åka och göra samma grej. Så det är det som blir lite kul också, att man kan faktiskt få prata med några stycken innan man ska åka som ska uppleva samma resa helt enkelt.
Precis. Kort sagt så finns vi där helt enkelt som en svensk representant för de här skolorna som vi jobbar med. Så allt ifrån innan man åker, man stöter på funderingar, frågor och så vidare. Eller när du är där och det händer någonting och de inte kan lösa det på skolan. Så finns det alltid en kontakt som talar svenska som du kan ringa eller mejla när som helst.
Precis. Då ska vi se om det går att byta sida här. Så hur kommer jag igång då? Jo, då går man in på www.studin.se. Där kan man läsa mer om skolorna vi jobbar med, vare sig det är med Asian Exchange eller utanför Asian Exchange. Och där kan man också beställa mer information. Känner man att man hittat en skola man ganska direkt känner att det här låter intressant och jag vill nog söka till denna skolan. Då kan man också göra man kan påbörja en ansökan direkt på en hemsida. Det är inget bindande så vi kan ju alltid göra ändringar och så sen om det skulle vara så. Men det är ett väldigt bra sätt att komma igång på helt enkelt.
Precis. Jag lägger lite länkar i chatten där. Så vill man in och kika lite så är de klickbara där. Och startar man ansökan så ser det ut precis som på skärmen som Lolo visar. Och man fyller egentligen bara i lite kontaktuppgifter och vad det är man vill. Och sen drar vi igång ansökan och hjälper dig steg för steg genom processen tills man är i mål helt enkelt.
Precis, så är det. Jag var inte jättesnabb den här idag. Kommer vidare till sista sidan tror jag. Det gjorde vi banne mig inte. Men det var väl lite mer en slutsida som tack och hej. Så det var väl lite. Men precis, så kostnadsfritt återigen så hjälper vi till med rådgivning och ansökningsprocessen. Så att det är bara att höra av sig för vi älskar att hjälpa er till olika destinationer. Det är en jättekul grej jag har provat på att studera utomlands och det är också väldigt nyttigt och man växer väldigt mycket som människa på det. Faktiskt. Hur klyschigt det låter, så att det gör man absolut. Vi har alla studerat utomlands, vi som jobbar på studien.
Vi har ju faktiskt lite på fötterna där för alla som jobbar på studien har varit ute i världen själva. Helt olika destinationer och olika erfarenheter men alla som jobbar där har varit ute på olika akademiska äventyr och tycker väl egentligen att det är det bästa man någonsin har gjort eftersom vi valde att jobba med detta sen.
Precis. Så att in på länkarna som Elisabeth har skickat här i chattrutan och till er som ser detta nu i efterhand som inte kunde vara med live. Gå in på www.studien.se eller mejla oss direkt på info@studien.se så kommer vi att hjälpa er vidare. Några av er har vi redan pratat lite med sen innan men vi hoppas att detta kunde ge er ännu mer information. Och bra att veta också att det börjar komma lite deadlines här nu för vissa skolor. Så att det är bra att kika ganska omgående så att man inte söker för sent. Så att, och man kan redan nu också börja prata om alternativ om man vill iväg kanske till våren eller så också. Så det är inga konstigheter, bara höra av sig.
Precis. Är det inga andra frågor så säger vi tack och hej och godnatt, skulle jag på säga.
Precis, exakt. Det börjar bli sent, men vi är tillbaka imorgon så att har ni fler frågor, det bara hör av sig eller ringa, slå oss en signal till kontoret i Göteborg så kommer vi att hjälpa er.
Super. Ha det bra.
Ha det fint allihop.
Hej då.